Alright, Shalom Hebrews. This is Israel being Israel. Check it out, Hebrews. It's important. It's important that you get an understanding of the book of Jeremiah. The prophet Jeremiah was our last prophet for the 99% when we ran into Africa. And if you understand the book of Jeremiah, then you'll understand what happened to us. You see what I'm saying? And the prophet Jeremiah, the book of Jeremiah also dispelled those myths and stuff that's been told about our heritage. You know, and like I said, if you understand the book of Jeremiah, then you're gonna understand what's going on. And the prophet Jeremiah say that our sins was on the same level as Sodom and Gomorrah. You know what I'm saying? He'll show you that our sins was on the same level as Sodom and Gomorrah, so we couldn't be forgiven. We couldn't be forgiven for our sins because it wasn't nobody righteous in the kingdom. Wasn't nobody righteous. You know, the prophets gonna be the warners. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it wasn't nobody righteous. And the ones that was righteous, you know, they went to Babylon, and when they come back, they was destroyed. You know, I pray that y'all get an understanding of this history that I'm finna show you. And this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, Hebrews. You know, they got archaeology showing that the Scythians, you know, I was reading, you know, about the Scythians. That's the code name for Ashkenaz, and how some of their arrowheads is still in the promised land. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? How they arrowheads is still there and stuff. Okay. The book of Jeremiah. You know, our sins, we was on the same level of wickedness as Sodom and Gomorrah was. So it wasn't no forgiveness for us. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna show this, but first let's see how Sodom and Gomorrah was. This is back in Prophet Abraham days. You know, Prophet Abraham was, you know, given the promised land because of the Amorites' iniquity. And I'm going to possibly try to go in there too. It's a whole lot of history to go into. But if you understand the book of Jeremiah, then you'll understand what happened to us in our last days. You know, before we went into Africa and got enslaved and was brought here to the strange land that the Creator said, you know, we Hebrews would be brought to. Alright, if you go to Genesis 19, well, basically Genesis 18. Genesis 18, this is going to be dealing with the prophet Abraham and the angels that was sent to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and how Lot was there. You see, them same Amorites and people that was in Sodom and Gomorrah are going to be the same people that caused our downfall. It's a long history, but it's short. The Israelite Brotherhood and shorten it to where you can understand it, and it's easy to understand. All right, the Genesis 18. You know, this tell you about, you know, how Prophet Abraham coming to the land and how the angels pulled up on him because the wickedness of the Sodom and Gomorrah, which was an Amorite held nation, and how they were so wicked that the cries went up to the heavens, and how, you know what I'm saying, they had to get destroyed. You know, it was time to knock them off. You know, the Amorites had a covenant before we Hebrews did. You know, and we can't say who the, you know, Creator can bless. You know, I'll try to cover their history, but their history is in some of the other videos that I got titled, you know, with the Amorite titles on them. Okay, if you go to Genesis 18, and it'll tell you about how the angels came and how the prophet Abraham fix them something to eat, and then how they told the prophet Abraham that he'll, have a son and so forth, and how our mother, didn't, believe and stuff, and I'm saying our mother Sarah didn't believe, and she laughed, and they heard her, but it come to pass. All right. So, the angels told, Prophet Abraham, this is starting to be the transition between us starting to take on our responsibilities with the new culture that the Creator gave us. See, the covenant wasn't nothing but a new culture that was different from the Amorite Egyptian culture that was in the promised land. You know what I'm saying? And that stretched it from Egypt to Mesopotamia. And that Canaanite culture was like, 2400 BC. It really go back to the Babylonian tower days after Noah, Prophet Noah's sons, Ham, Shem, and Japhet, and then some of Japhet descendants. They went up to Europe, and Ham descendants populated the Mesopotamia area, or what is called Babylon. I'm going to try to get that in there. All right, but, the Amorites had a covenant, and they covenant, they turned real wicked. You see, they didn't keep the way like the angel said that Prophet Abraham descendants would, and that's why he was chosen. If you get to Genesis 18 verse 19, for I know him that he will command his children. Let's start. And the Elohim said, shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? For I know him that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Elohim to do justice and judgment, that the Elohim may bring upon Abraham that which he had spoken of him. You see, and so Abraham, the Creator knew that he would have his descendants would be the one that would really believe in him. So, Abraham was chosen, to replace that Canaanite culture, that exists. And the Amorites had Sodom and Gomorrah, and the Elohim said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which has come unto me, and if not, I will know. So then they started going towards Sodom and Gomorrah, and then the prophet Abraham, was tagging along. And then he had asked them some questions, because he couldn't believe that this whole civilization and this whole town, nation with these peoples in it, it was finna get destroyed. And so he was tagging along, so he couldn't believe it. So then this is what the prophet Abraham said, and Abraham drew near and said, will thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Will thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that they are therein? So he was saying, is you going to destroy the city even if it's 50 righteous people in it? And let me see, that be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? You see, so Prophet Abraham couldn't believe that, that them angels and the Creator them was finna go knock Sodom and Gomorrah off. You know what I'm saying? Prophet Abraham just knew it had to be some righteous folks there. He was probably thinking about his brother Lot and them that had, his uncle Lot and them that had went there. You see what I'm saying? He was probably thinking about them, and the Elohim said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sake. And Abraham answered and said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Elohim, which I am but dust and ashes. Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for the lack of 5? And he said, If I find there 45, I will not destroy it. And he spake unto him yet again and said, Peradventure there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 40's sake. So if the Creator found 40 righteous people in Sodom and Gomorrah, he was going to spare them. You know what I'm saying? So, we know what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. All right. And he said unto him, Oh, let not the Elohim be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Elohim. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it if it was for 20's sake. And he said, Oh, let now the Elohim be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Peradventure 10 shall be found. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And the Elohim went his way as soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. So we know Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, and it wasn't nobody righteous there. You see what I'm saying? So our sin was on the same level that they was on. Check this out, and that's awful. That's awful. That's why come they keep us fighting against each other, and they keep us wicked, and everything that we basically did in the biblical days when we was on the promised land, we doing now. We doing now. And we've been doing that for a long time. So we probably saw a whole bunch of us gonna get caught up when this country destroyed. There ain't all gonna be no righteous people. So, you got to turn to the Creator, and you got to read your biblical history to try to get an understanding so we can break away from these folks and their wicked ways so you don't go down with them. You see what I'm saying? All right, look, we was on the same level as Sodom and Gomorrah was. If you read the book of Jeremiah, and this is all the tribes, and I'm going to establish that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes from the book of Jeremiah. Those are Jewish myths. You see what I'm saying? It's myths that was created to keep us from coming into heritage. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. All right, it was myths created to keep us from coming into heritage. They knew that we would, wake up later on and that we would come into heritage because they had our history and they understood it very well. That's why come they've been able to control us. You see what I'm saying? And it's easy to control us if you understand biblical history, because you know the things that we are not supposed to do, and they make them things available. You know what I'm saying? The things that we ain't supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? It's the things that they make us do, and then they highlight that in the rap music. Okay, our sin was on the same level as Sodom and Gomorrah. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't nobody righteous, so we couldn't be forgiven. So we had to go through what we're going through. All right, and then it even tell you in the book of Jeremiah how the murderers and the killers, the peoples who got the skills to keep torturing you and plaguing you with all kind of disasters would have control of us. The book of Jeremiah cover everything. Like I say, the book of Jeremiah was the last prophet for the millions, us, the 99% that went into Africa. And I'm going to establish this real easy. Okay, our sin was on the same level as Sodom and Gomorrah. We couldn't be forgiven. We had to come up off the land. And I could show plenty times where it was stated that the city would be empty. Nobody dwelled therein. And that came to pass. All right. If you go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 5, and you read, and it says, Run ye to and fro through the streets of Jerusalem, and see now and know and seek in the broad places thereof. If ye find a man, if there be any that executeth judgment, that seeketh the truth, and I will pardon it. You see what I'm saying? So we know that Jerusalem didn't get pardoned, and our heritage was stripped away. So we know it wasn't nobody righteous in our inheritance during the Babylonian days, which caused us to be chased up off the land into Africa, where we was captured and enslaved and brought to this Egypt. And I'm gonna prove that this is the Egypt too. You know, all right. Our sin was on the same level as Sodom and Gomorrah, and we even had the male prostitution and all that stuff was in the land. And if you read our history, the kings, First Kings and Second Kings, and this really started after King David's death, and Solomon come on the throne. You see, Solomon had an Egyptian woman, you know what I'm saying, the Egyptian wife, and it was a bad thing for us to mix up with the Egyptians. You know what I'm saying? It was a bad thing to mix up with the Egyptians. It was the Egyptian culture in history that it was the Egyptian culture that caused us to lose our covenant and be enslaved. You know, that's like now the people, I'm gonna hip you Hebrews to what's going on and what the beast and our enemies is trying to do. They trying to make the people that are not Hebrews, the Africans, the black Jews, and the other peoples in Africa, they trying to make them into Hebrews while we coming into our heritage. They trying to make them into Israelites, into the tribes of Israel, while we trying to come into our heritage. And by the time we come into our heritage, they been and embrace them, and then them other people won't let us come into our heritage. They gon' hold us back, and they ain't suffered no curses. They ain't fulfilled none of the curses. And one of the main curses for breaking the covenant was to get taken to Egypt in ships. And it's a known fact that it's impossible to miss those curses. That's one of the main curses of how you know that you a Hebrew Israelite, was to get taken to the strange land, you know what I'm saying, in ships with yoke on your neck, you know what I'm saying. And we know to reside in Africa during the transatlantic slave trade and to miss them ships, then you missing prophecy. So you can't be Hebrews. But that's what they trying to do in our quest to wake up. They are trying to make other people, other pigmented people, into Hebrews and raise their status so that other people can control our heritage and us coming into our heritage. You know, that's what they doing and stuff. And it's a game that they played on us in our last days in the promised land too. You know, that's like, you know, the mixing, you know, that's what destroyed the exiles. You know, they pulling out all the strings to stop us from coming into heritage, because they know when we come into heritage this time and start doing this new covenant that the Creator say we would do, that they would never have control over us again. So it's a lot going on, Hebrews. It's a lot going on. Okay, let's get back to this here. All right, so our sins was the same as Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, we couldn't be forgiven. All right, Hebrews, if you go to the book of Ezekiel chapter 23, you know, I'm going to show you how we was kicked up off the land. And then the book of Jeremiah is our last prophet, and you're going to see that the tribes of Israel is still around, and that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. You know, our history and our culture fell into the hands of some Babylonian scribes, and most Hebrews won't understand that, you know, and some Hebrews will understand it. And probably the Hebrews who've been doing research with me and been, you know, sharing and understanding this videos, you gonna know who the Babylonian scribes is. You know, those people are responsible for Babylon's history. You know, and that's gonna be the Sephardists. You know what I'm saying? They come from Sipper, you know, Mari, all the way down to was a Amorite created civilization. You know, Hamabari was a Amorite, and the Amorites had a covenant before we did. You know, I'm gonna show that too. You know, the book of Ezekiel cover a lot of history. You know, the prophet Ezekiel was taken to Babylon during the first time when the Babylonians come in to kidnap some of the people. But this is what the prophet Ezekiel said about Egypt breaking us in, and I'm gonna establish that too, how the Egyptians tricked us way back in the days when we was in Egypt, how the Egyptians planted their seed and how their seed growed into what destroyed us. You know, strange fruit on a tree. You know, the Egyptians planted their religion on us, which destroyed us in the last days, and then they kindred people. You know, like I say, you know, because you got black skin, don't make you our friends, don't make you a friend, because it's pigmented people all over the earth, and don't nobody want us to have the covenant. Black, white, yellow, it don't make a difference. They do not want us to have a covenant. They do not want us to be independent from their wickedness. You see what I'm saying? So it's not about color. And when we be saying black pride, we Africans, we living in a delusion, because it was the Hamites that tricked us out of our culture in our last days. And I'm established that. All right, if you go to Ezekiel 23, and it says, the word of the Elohim came again unto me, saying, Son of man, there were two women, the daughters of one mother, and they committed whoredom in Egypt. They committed whoredoms in their youth. There were their breasts pressed, and there they bruised the tents of their virginity. You see what I'm saying? And the name of them were Allah, and the elder, and Habala her sister, and they were man, and they bore sons and daughters. This were their names. Samaria is a Ola, and Jerusalem is a Bala. Those was our two capitals that we had. One was for the northern kingdom, and the other one was for the southern kingdom. You know what I'm saying, when we split. But as you see, the Egyptians broke us in from the beginning. You see what I'm saying? It was the Egyptian culture that broke us in, and I can show that old wicked Pharaoh didn't believe in the Creator. You see what I'm saying? See, when we was in Egypt in bondage, we was the lowest people around, just like now. You know how all other ethnic groups then got up and they don't have the same suffering that we have. You see, sometimes the Creator, you know, put a ethnic group in that situation and then bring them out of that. You see, and then that's what happened to the Amorites. You know, they was throwed out in their blood. You know what I'm saying? And then the Creator rescued them. All right, it's a whole lot of history I can cover. All right, let's show that, and then let's get the Egyptian part out the way, because once I stay on the Egyptian history, I'm gonna kind of like be on that for a while. But all right, if you go back to the book of Ezekiel chapter 16, you're gonna see that the Amorites, Jerusalem, had a covenant before we did, you know, and I could prove this. All right, and then when you get to Ezekiel 16, and the word of the Elohim came unto me, saying, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abomination, and say, Thus saith the Elohim Yah unto Jerusalem, Thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan. Thy father was an Amorite, and thy mother a Hittite. So them Amorites, you know what I'm saying, because you what your father is. And as for thy nativity, in the day that thou was born, thy navel was not cut, neither was thou washed in water to supply thee. Thou was not salted at all, nor swaddled at all. none I pitied thee, to do any of these unto thee, to have compassion upon thee. But thou wast cast out in the open field to the loathing of thy person in the day that thou was born. And when I passed by thee and saw thee polluted in thine own blood, I said unto thee, when thou was in thy blood, live. Yeah, I said unto thee, when thou was in thy blood, live. So the Creator was saving them. You see what I'm saying? And took them and made them great. And Melchizedek, a lot of Hebrews be saying, do some history on Melchizedek. Melchizedek wasn't nothing but an Amorite priest. He was an Amorite priest that was over Jerusalem. You know what I'm saying? And this they culture, the Amorite culture extended from the promised land, from Egypt all the way to Mesopotamia. And he was a priest that believed in the Creator. And he knew that the prophet Abraham was coming around to displace the Amorite culture, that prophet Abraham descendants would get the Amorite culture. And he gave prophet Abraham his props. You know, during that time when prophet Abraham came into the land, you know, the gay folks in Sodom and Gomorrah was so wicked. Like I showed that, you know, the angels couldn't find nobody righteous there, that the people from Mesopotamia came and robbed them. Some other Hamites came and robbed them and took some of them Hamites away, Ashlar and them. And the prophet Abraham went and caught up with them. You see what I'm saying? And rescued, you know what I'm saying, his people. And then, you know, came back to Canaan. And, you know, the people tried to give prophet Abraham some of the stuff, and prophet Abraham gave all this stuff back and said he ain't wanted nothing from them, because he was finna inherit the land, and that was getting him in the land. And our history, you know, rolled from there. But the Amorites, you know, they was wicked, and they had a covenant before we did. You know, all right. I have caused thee to multiply as the bud of the field, and thou hast increased and waxen great, and thou art become the excellent ornament. Thy breasts are fashioned, and thine hair is grown, whereas thou was naked and bare. Now when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt over thee and caused and covered thy nakedness. Yeah, I swear unto thee and enter into a covenant with thee, said the Elohim Yah, and thou becomest mine. You see what I'm saying? So the Creator found them all messed up, tore up, and brought them back and gave them a civilization, and then they gonna turn wicked. You see what I'm saying? That's why come the prophet Abraham was told, you know, that he, you know, the Creator knew that his descendants and they was going to destroy that Amorite culture at that time, Sodom and Gomorrah, when the prophet Abraham was told that he know, you know what I'm saying, that the Creator know that his descendants would, you know, hold away. You know what I'm saying? All right. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Elohim to do justice and judgment, that the Elohim may bring upon Abraham that which he had spoken. You know what I'm saying? And also, if you read in Genesis 15, 16, you're going to see that the Creator told the prophet Abraham that the iniquity of the Amorites wasn't full yet. You know, this is Genesis 15, 16. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. Guess what? We done come to the promised land in the fourth generation, and the iniquity of the Amorites is full now. You see what I'm saying? Because we understand what happened to us and how we broke the covenant and how we abandoned our covenant to those people, the Sephardic Jews. And I'm going to show that the Sephardic Jews are Amorites because they come from Babylon. And if you look up Babylonian history, you'll see that the Amorites are the founders of Babylon. Sambusan, you know what I'm saying? That's one of their first founders. And that the Amorites was placed in our land while we was on Egyptian religion. You see, them people were slick. You see, after they done lost their covenant and seen that they done fell out of grace with the Creator and that He, gave everything to us, then they come immediately after us. And that's like it's nobody on this earth, I don't care what ethnic group they is, they don't want us to have the covenant. And they only gonna come worship and follow the Creator is when it's enough of us and they see that we gonna be this way. You see what I'm saying? And that we gonna follow the Creator and we ain't gonna follow their gods. Then they'll come on and try to, do right. But until then, their job is to keep us throwed off. And that's what they've been doing the whole time. See, and it started with them Hamites. See, when we be saying, black people, black love. No, it wasn't no black love when them Hamites tricked us out of our covenant. See, the Hamites had to do trade on the other side of the promised land. See, they was wicked. The Egyptians was wicked. And they were so wicked, they even got their gods, Horus and Set, playing with each other's sperm and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Gay gods and stuff. And the Egyptians was real wicked. And but the Egyptians had to do trade on the other side of us. You see what I'm saying? On the other side of the promised land, the Egyptians had to do trade. The Egyptians had to do trade, or else they'll, be cut off if they couldn't do trade. And they couldn't come across the promised land if we was doing the covenant. You see what I'm saying? That's a known fact that they couldn't come across the promised land if we was doing the covenant. And that's one of the reasons why the Egyptians put us on a religion. They was trying to save themselves, because if we did the covenant, it wasn't no trading going on with Mesopotamia. You see what I'm saying? We was going to cut the Egyptians off. And they tricked us. The Hamite family groups is what I call them, because if you research all the people that we basically came in contact with, that we had a problem with was gonna be the Hamites that had mixed with the Nephilims. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, what people be saying, that Edom is our brother and Edom is our people. Edom Esau stopped being our brother when he grieved our father Isaac and our mother Rebecca by going into those Canaanite tribes that had mixed with the Nephilims. You see what I'm saying? In Mount Seir. You see what I'm saying? And Edom had went into them. So, when our mother Rebecca sent Jacob in to get the blessings from our father Isaac, she was saving the Israelite nation. See what I'm saying? Because if the blessing had went over to Esau as a firstborn, then we couldn't have got the covenant that we were supposed to have, because those people that Esau had messed with were the founders and the originator, the original people of the land that was pre Abraham. The Canaanite tribes. So if Esau had married into those Canaanite tribes, and then he had got the blessing from Isaac, then it was over with for us right then, because he would have been given promise to the land, and then he wouldn't have did nothing but gave it to the people that was supposed to be destroyed. Those Canaanite tribes that had turned wicked, that we was replacing their culture. We would replace their culture with the laws that Moses got. The laws that Moses got, that was a new culture. That was a new culture that was supposed to extinguish the other culture. And it was also supposed to bring us and wing us off that Egyptian worship that we was doing while we was in Egypt, before we got the covenant. We was all messed up. Okay, the Egyptians didn't want us to do the covenant, and you can see this right here, and while we was in Egypt and we was in bondage in Egypt, we was making bricks. Egypt had brick houses. A lot of people don't know that the brick houses is not new, and that the white people didn't, create brick houses and stuff, and that how the Egyptians had, brick houses. And we made bricks for Pharaoh, and Pharaoh evidently was profiting off of them, and then they didn't want to let us go, was dogging us out. And so that's how that started and stuff. And I can show in the scriptures how them people knew we was Israelites. Even Prophet Moses was speaking to Esau when we came out the promised land, and he was describing to Esau, can we go across his land? And Esau said no, and Moses was explaining to them, man, you know how the Egyptians did us wrong and dogged us out and did us bad for all that time while we was there. And there was some black folks, you know what I'm saying, they held us in bondage. And we was explaining to our kindred brother Edom how, to let us across his land so we can go into the promised land. But we wasn't, thinking that Edom had married into those Canaanites, so he wasn't finna let us across his land to go into there to damage them, because he had married into them. It was this slick way of getting the land back, his inheritance back. You see, that he probably thought he was entitled to. All right, Egypt made brick houses, so they're gonna have to have somebody doing it. They ain't gonna enslave their people to do it, so they're gonna enslave the next ethnic group that's hanging around there. You see, Egypt had everything, and then what people don't know, it was lower Egypt is gonna be controlled by the people west of the Nile, and they inheritance went into the Sahara. The Mishwish tribes from Libya in the Sahara, and then you had the people who control Upper Egypt. Those are gonna be the Nubian, Ethiopian stock. You see what I'm saying? They control the east side of the Nile. You see what I'm saying? And them people, when Joseph passed away, and then those people come into power. You see what I'm saying? The people from Upper Egypt come into power, and then they enslaved us and had us making bricks, dogging us out. And even Prophet Moses, was trying to explain it to Esau to let us across his land, and how we had just come from being dogged out by them Egyptians, them black Hamites, and to let us across his land so we can go get our heritage that the Creator said. And Esau said, nah, man, ain't nothing happening. We're going to pull the sword out on you if you come past here. I'm going to find that too. So, the Egyptians also didn't believe in the Creator. You know what I'm saying? If you go to Exodus 5, it's a lot of verses in here where Moses going in asking old slick Pharaoh to let the people go. And Pharaoh said, no, I ain't letting them go nowhere. And Moses say, well, the Creator of the universe, you know what I'm saying, the God of the Hebrews, said let his people come worship him. That Israel is his firstborn. And Pharaoh said, ain't nothing. They can't go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? All right. And afterwards, this is Exodus 5. And afterward, Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, this said the Elohim Yah of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, who is the Elohim that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I know not the Elohim, neither will I let Israel go. So that went on back and forth for quite a while. Pharaoh gonna say that, he wasn't finna let us go do nothing to worship no gods. And then it was even some verses in here, man, if I can find this, where Pharaoh told Prophet Moses, you can go worship your God in front of the Egyptians here in the land. And Moses said, man, you got to be crazy. You know you Egyptians gonna stone us and kill us if we worship our creator here, our God here, and that our God is an abomination to y'all. You see what I'm saying? That's in there and stuff. So Pharaoh didn't believe in the creator. Pharaoh didn't believe in the creator. Even when the plagues put on him, then he'll try to straighten up after he done suffered some economic losses and stuff. And then, he tried to come around and then he let us go. But before then, they had planted the seed, whether it's the Egyptians from Upper Egypt or Lower Egypt. They all united and they gonna all work together. And you can see this happening when Joseph, after Prophet Joseph answered Pharaoh's dreams, and then, kind of like saved Egypt, and then they knew we was Hebrews. It's verses all throughout here that show the ethnic difference between us and the Egyptians, our tribal differences. You see what I'm saying? And after Joseph saved Pharaoh, and Pharaoh seen that his magicians, his priests, and his sorcerers, or none of them wasn't no good, and that they couldn't work in no kind of way during Joseph time, and that they couldn't answer Pharaoh's dreams, and Pharaoh knew that his whole civilization was at stake right then. So Pharaoh gonna be slick, trying to save his people. He gonna get Joseph Asenath. That's the priest of On daughter. Now that's the priest of On daughter right there. You know what I'm saying? The priest of On daughter gonna have two sons. And the two sons are Manasseh and Ephraim. And the tribe of Ephraim descendants can be shown to had worshipped the Egyptian religion that brung us down. Jeroboam, when he went into Egypt fleeing from Solomon, and then he come back out after Solomon's death, and then put 2 golden calves on us, and that destroyed us. King Josiah cleaned it up and tried to save us, and the Egyptians come out and killed him. And then we go into Africa, and then here we are now in captivity, trying to, pick it back up and stuff. It's that easy, all right? All right, and and Pharaoh called Joseph, named Zephaniah Paneah, and gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. And Joseph went out all over Egypt. That's Genesis 41, verse 45. And then when you get over to 41, verse 50, and unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of the famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bare unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for Yah said he had made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And the name of the second called he Ephraim, for the Elohim had blessed me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. So, they was hooking Joseph up after Joseph answered Pharaoh's dreams and gave him the priest of On daughter. They was planting the seed right there. And then as you go on, we know that, Pharaoh finally let us up out of there. You know what I'm saying? And then we start, going into the promised land. Exodus show you that a mixed multitude left with us. So that mixed multitude is going to be some Egyptians. You see what I'm saying? And them Egyptians going to cause us some trouble soon as Moses leave. Everybody know about how we made the golden calf when Moses went up. The golden calf ain't nothing but that Is horse worship. That Is horse worship, and then that cow is the image, the symbolism for about 5 religions. Like the cross cover about 10 different branches of Christianity, where that golden cow covered about 5 different Egyptian religions. All right, as we left Egypt during Moses' time, and man, you'll see the mixed multitude. This is this is Exodus 12:38. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. So a whole bunch of Egyptians left with us. All right, so then we start, going towards the promised land. We up in the Sinai, and Moses go, get the law, and then this what happened when Prophet Moses take off. We got them old wicked Egyptians with us, them old wicked Hamites, some black folks. You see what I'm saying? Check this out. And when the people saw, this is Exodus 32, and when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we want not what is become of him. And Aaron got their little earrings, and then and he received them at their hands and fashioned it with a graven tool, and he made it a molten calf. And they said, these be the gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. So old Pharaoh stuff working right there. See what I'm saying? That seed he planted is working right there. All right, so Moses, we're going to wander around for the 40 years to try to shake that crew, you know what I'm saying? And then we know that Prophet Moses passed away. This is going to be around about 1406 BC, and Prophet Joshua come on. You know what I'm saying? And then, he would, start to take us into the promised land. In 1375, he passed, and then we all messed up. You know what I'm saying? We so messed up around about 1375 BC. That's gonna be the book of Judges. And then around about I think it's 1175 or something like that, because we was messed up about 275 years in book of Judges, where we was in all kind of little captivities for 8 years, 7 years, 6 years, because when we went into the promised land, we started kicking it with the people that we were supposed to destroy, those Canaanite folks, them Amorites, and they pulled out all the tricks in the bag like they doing now. And one of their things was to give us their women and give us their religion, and give us their woman. Anything to keep us from doing the covenant, because they know that new covenant that we was to do, they didn't have no control of it, and it was from the Creator, and it was gonna put their lights out. You see what I'm saying? So them folks knew that. So the Hamites family groups is working to keep us from getting the covenant. All of them work together. You know what I'm saying? And the Creator sent Japhet descendants in to destroy us in the end, to get us up off the land. All right, so we know during Exodus time that the Egyptians had left with us, and then they done tricked us into making the golden calf. You know what I'm saying? And we know that, Moses passed, Joshua come on, and how we'll slip in Judges and be all messed up. You know what I'm saying? And then Prophet Samuel come on, and then Samuel would straighten us up. And then Samuel, and then King Saul, and then King David. We had like maybe 130 years of following the law and trying to practice and do right by that new culture that the Creator had gave us, that was different from that Canaanite Amorite culture. You know what I'm saying? So, we tried to do right for that time, and then King David started to get us the land. And then King David passed away, I think it's 970 BC. Solomon come on. And then we know Solomon was so wicked, he had the Egyptian woman who he built a house for next to the temple that he's supposed to be constructing from the Creator, like a slick slap in the face, knowing that we was free from Egypt and how the Creator rescued us from those black Hamites who was dogging us out and had enslaved us, making bricks for them and all kind of old stuff they had us doing for them, and how, you know, we was all messed up. Okay, the Hamite groups didn't want us to have the covenant. They didn't want us to have the covenant. Nobody wanted us to have that covenant. All right, if you go to because after King David passed away and Solomon come on during Solomon time, you know, is when the snake, see, because he already fooling with them Egyptians. Solomon already fooling with them Egyptians by having that Egyptian woman. You see what I'm saying? So he didn't open the door. You know, so Jeroboam, his general or right hand man that he seen was more prosperous than he was. You see what I'm saying? Solomon tried to kill him, and then he would flee to Egypt. But guess what? Jeroboam was from the tribe of Ephraim, and the tribe of Ephraim were mixed with the Egyptians. You see what I'm saying? They mama was an Egyptian, and in Egypt, your heredity and your rulership gonna go on your mama side. They ain't doing it just by the daddy like how we did. You know, the daddy passed it to the firstborn son, and then it rolled like that. You know, where the Egyptians, you can inherit it. You can inherit birthrights from the mama. You see what I'm saying? So Ephraim, Manasseh and Ephraim being part Egyptian or having an Egyptian ancestry, that made it easy for Jeroboam to go to Egypt. You see what I'm saying? And we know why he in Egypt. Just like when Prophet Joseph was around in the days and Pharaoh had gave him Asenath, and then his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, you know they granddaddy gonna be teaching them to follow the Egyptian, especially the youngest one, Manasseh. Follow the Egyptian way. This is what we believe. You know how a granddaddy gonna try to put his old tradition down and pass his tradition down. Well, I believe that affected the tribe of Ephraim throughout his whole time. And they descendants, Jeroboam, would go to Egypt, and he would come out with 2 golden calves. And Jeroboam was from the tribe of Ephraim. You know, if you go to First Kings chapter 11 verse 26, and you will see it says, and Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and Ephraim of Zerudah, Solomon's servant, whose mother's name was Zerur, a widow woman, even he lifted up his hand against the king. All right, so you know, and look, and Solomon sought that this is 1140. Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam, and Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shoshank, king of Egypt, and was there unto Solomon's death. Now, Shoshank gonna be one of those Libyan west side Sahara kings, the ones that Manasseh and Ephraim them was descended from, the Mishwish tribes. You see what I'm saying? And as I showed that Ephraim descended foreparents them were Egyptians. You know, I done showed this, you know, and it's right here. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zephaniah Peneda, and he gave unto him to wife Asenath, and the daughter of the Papapuri, the priest of On. And Joseph went out all over Egypt, and unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the year of the famine, which Asenath, the daughter of Papapuri, the priest of On, bore to him. And Joseph called the name of the first Manasseh, for Yah had made him forget all his toil and all his father's house. In the name of the second called he Ephraim, for Yah had caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. So we know that the tribe of Ephraim is related to the Egyptians. So when Jeroboam go into Egypt, he was fleeing to his relatives. You know, and Solomon couldn't come in there and do nothing to him, chase him down or nothing. That was that on that when he fled to Egypt. Okay, when Solomon died, and then Jeroboam come out Jeroboam gonna put them 2 golden calves on us that cause us to fall and go into slavery, that we in trouble right now today. You see what I'm saying? So, as you read, when Solomon passed and then Rehoboam come on and we couldn't get it all together on who was going to be the leader, and we decided Jeroboam, because Rehoboam, Solomon's son, was flexing, trying to tighten up on the people. When Solomon was building the temple, he gonna get the gold from the people. He gonna be taxing the people, and it's gonna be some bondage on the people. And then now that era was over, and his son was coming in trying to put a tax on the people said, "Nah, man, we ain't going for none of that." And they picked Jeroboam, the worst thing we could have ever did. See, we be jumping from the fire pan, from the pan into the fire. You see, that's how been our whole state of mind. In the book of Jeremiah, sum it all up. If you can understand the book of Jeremiah, then you will understand the mentality that we was in our last days, that didn't change, because we went into Africa, and from there we was enslaved. We ain't never had a chance to start getting right until now. You see what I'm saying? But you got to understand what happened back then in order to start getting right, unless you're going to be doing Jewish history and trying to get right up under the guidance that they done dictated. You see what I'm saying? And we don't want that to happen. So that's why the Israelite Brotherhood is showing you what time it is. All right. So we know that Jeroboam, come out of Egypt, and then he was kin to them Egyptians. And then when he come out, as you read 1 Kings 12, and then you get to 28, you'll see it says, "Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt." So that's that golden calf. That's that Egyptian religion being put on us again. You see what I'm saying? And we was on that mess off and on for a long time. But when Jeroboam put it on us this time, we was on that mess all the way to when King Josiah cleaned it up. And look, Hebrews, King Josiah was a king of prophecy. Now Jeroboam did this in 931 BC, and Josiah, a prophet, come out of Judah and told Jeroboam that a child will be born by the name of Josiah from the seed of David, and how he would get rid of Jeroboam's evil religion that he brought from Egypt. And sure enough, that came to pass. And guess what, Hebrews? Them Babylonian scribes who we abandoned our heritage to, they would take the prophecies from Isaiah and the other prophets that lived from 931 BC all the way down to King Josiah was born. They would take those prophecies and apply it to the demigod that they created. The people we abandoned our heritage to, I'm going to go into their history too. They made demigods. They made demigods in Babylon, and they would make gods and sell them, and they would make religious ornaments and idols and sell them. It's like the cross ain't nothing but, something that they done fashioned, that they done sold. Like they had other images and replicas that they used to sell as religious artifacts back then. Well, we abandoned our heritage to some people that kept Babylon's history, and that was responsible for Babylon's God history. And matter of fact, they control the world history then. You see what I'm saying? Because the Mesopotamia area was considered the known civilized world. The people that wrote and were writing and so forth was, because you can look at other places and see when their writings and stuff come about, it came way later, and that Babylon was writing something like the first people to be writing and stuff, cuneiform scripts and all that. Well, them people that control world history was placed in our land. Who controlled the world history back then was placed in our land in 722 BC while we was on Egyptian religion. So we was on Egyptian religion from Jeroboam days all the way to when King Josiah cleaned it up. And let's read this prophecy for King Josiah. This is 931 BC. And he come around in 632 BC. And he would clean the whole kingdom up. And this get rid of that myth, that 10 lost tribe myth that those Babylonian scribes created. You see, I'm going to show that too. All right. And behold, there came a man of Yah out of Judah by the word of the Elohim unto Bethel, and Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. And he cried against the altar in the word of the Elohim and said, Altar, altar, this saith the Elohim, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name, and upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall he burn upon thee, shall be burnt upon thee. Sure enough, that came to pass. You know what I'm saying? That came to pass. We was on the Egyptian religion, the Canaanite religion. We was messed up, just like how we messed up now. And you can go in any religious house and you can find a Hebrew Israelite sitting up in there worshiping them folks' gods. You can go in all kind of religious places and you will see an Israelite up in there worshiping their gods. You see what I'm saying? We was messed up like that the same way we was in the promised land. But then we had some control and we could have changed our destiny. And we can't do nothing now but ride these curses out. All right, King Josiah, it was a prophecy for him to be born. Okay, and then by the time you get to Second Chronicles 34, you'll see that King Josiah was born. King Josiah was born, and he did just what that prophet told Jeroboam would happen. You know what I'm saying? That, you know what I'm saying, what he would do to his evil Egyptian religion that he brung out on us, you know? All right, and I'm going to show you also that it was no 10 lost tribes. You can use Second Chronicles chapter 30 and chapter 34 to prove that it was no 10 lost tribes. And all this gonna show you that we went into Africa in the book of Jeremiah. You see, because the prophet Jeremiah was around 12 years after King Josiah was on the throne. Prophet Jeremiah come around in his 13th year. And if all the tribes of Israel was around in King Hezekiah time and King Josiah time, then they gonna be around to go into Africa in the book of Jeremiah to worship the Egyptian religion like we said we would do. And I would show that the tribes of Israel was around during the Babylonian wars, and no 10 tribes was taken during the Assyrian times. You know what I'm saying? So, but let's show that King Josiah cleaned the land up just like that prophecy say, and then I'm going to show you that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes using his history and his great-grandfather history. All right. And Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 31 years, and he did that which was right in the sight of the Elohim, and walked in the ways of David his father, and declined neither to the right hand nor to the left. For in the 8th year of his reign, while he was yet young, he began to seek after the Yah of David his father. And in the 12th year he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem from the high places, in the groves, in the carved images, in the molten images. And they break down the altars of Balaam in his presence. In the images that were on high above them, he cut down in the groves, in the carved images, in the molten images, he brake in pieces and made dust of them, and strode it upon the graves of them that had sacrificed unto them. And he burnt the bones of the priests upon their altars, and cleansed Judah and Jerusalem. So did he in the cities of Manasseh, Ephraim, Simon, and even unto Naphtali with their buttocks round about. See, so he cleaned up the whole Israel. So how is it a 10 lost tribes when all the Hebrews is around in 640 BC? See what I'm saying? In 640 BC. So that 10 lost tribe is pure garbage, and they use that 10 lost tribes to the enemies use the 10 lost tribe myth to say who was a Hebrew to keep us out of our heritage, because the people that they saying are Hebrews now, like them black Jews and them other folks that ain't suffer no curses, they making them into Hebrews, and them folks gonna say that we ain't Hebrews and gonna try to hold our heritage back. Because if the enemy embrace them other folks and say they Hebrews, and then the other folks say we ain't Hebrews, but the other folks black skinned, then that's gonna throw us off. You see what I'm saying? But we ain't gonna roll like that. We ain't gonna let that happen. You see what I'm saying? There's some organizations out here that's really fighting for our heritage, and the Israelite Brotherhood is one. You see what I'm saying? I ain't put no tax on nobody for this history. Cause this history you deserve. This is your history. We can't wake up unless we get true history. Alright, man, it wasn't no 10 lost tribes, as could be shown during King Josiah's days. You see, and when you read, you know what I'm saying, keep on reading, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna run across a part where, Prophet Jeremiah's father, the high priest, find the book, and they give him the book, and then they go to Jerusalem and ask this prophetess what would happen to us. And then she said that, we would get the curses, it's over with for us, and that, we was done and through with, because we had violated so much. Like I had showed you, this is leading up to Jeremiah, to where it was shown that it wasn't no righteous person in the land, and that we was on the same level as Sodom and Gomorrah when them angels went there to try to find some righteous peoples there, and they couldn't find nobody righteous there. Well, we was on that same level, and we was driven off the land by Ashkenazi. Ashkenazi code name in history is Scythian. I'm gonna try to go into their history too. Ashkenazi code name in history is Scythian. And they chased us off the land. The Creator told them to. And then they chased us off the land. Alright, but King Josiah did what that prophet said, and he cleans that Egyptian religion up, and them Egyptians come out and killed him and placed his sons on the throne, and then we would go back to Egyptian religion, and then that would get us chased into Africa. And the book of Jeremiah sum that up, and I'm going to show that too. Alright, so this is going to show that there wasn't no 10 lost tribes, from King Josiah days. But let's go back farther, because we get to see something with his great-grandfather, King Hezekiah, and King Hezekiah had all the tribes here too, and he even tell you that we escaped the Assyrians. And I'm going to show you that the Assyrians, when they came, it was basically a race war going on, and the Assyrians was fighting for their life. The Assyrians had let them white folks from the Caucasus, the Scythians. I got a video about it, how Prophet Jonah, went there and tried to tell them about kicking them with them beasts and stuff, and how they tried to repent and say that they wouldn't be hanging with them beasts. And then, the prophet Nun came there after that, gave an oracle about Nineveh and how Assyria would be destroyed. Assyria had took credit for what they did to us. How they took the 3 tribes away. The 3 tribes they took to help fight against them white folks that was coming up out the Caucasus. About the Caucasus Mountain and stuff, around the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. Assyria was fighting for their life and stuff, because they had started letting them folks kick it there, and them folks started to take their nation over. And then they went and kidnapped some of our fighters. But at the same time, when they was kidnapping us, it was a regime change in Assyria. And then one of the Syrian kings placed some Babylonian scribes in our land, real slick. See, the northern kingdom was on Egyptian religion, so we ain't have no protection. So they placed them scribes in the northern kingdom, them Babylonian scribes. And them Babylonian scribes would come to the Passover dinner and start learning our heritage. And then when we went into Africa, in the book of Jeremiah, we left everything to them. And that's how our history got translated, and that's how the Jews control history also. All right, but Hezekiah, this is gonna be in 715 BC. All right, let's go to 2 Kings. 2 Kings chapter 17. 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 24. All right, 17 verse 24. And you're gonna see this word. You're gonna see this word Sepharavim. 2 Kings 17. All right. You're going to see that word Sepharavim. And that word Sepharavim, is the Hebrew word for Sephardi, Sephardic. Those are ethnic pointer terms. That's like they'll trick you and try to say Sephardim and Sephardi means Spain. But all the people from Spain can't claim meant to be Sephardis and then claim the promised land. You see, Sephardi and Sepharavim are names of these people that predate Spain and Germany. You see what I'm saying? So, they try to throw you off because they are the scribes. They write the history. They own the publishing houses that write the books. That's like now, if you try to translate some history for some Jews and give it to them, man, they going to look at you like you crazy. They going to look at you like you crazy. You cannot translate nothing and give it to them, and then they say that it's theirs. They not going. If they don't write their history, if they don't write their own history, then they ain't finna accept it. You know what I'm saying? But we accept everybody's history about us. You see what I'm saying? Anybody can go write some history about us and say this is us, and that's what happened. And them people who wrote our history, the Babylonian scribes who inherited our history after we abandoned it to them, going into Africa, being tricked into Africa for the Egyptian religion. Well, it's a historical documented fact that they own all the publishing companies and all the media from way back then to now. So they've been explaining our history, and they've been assigning names to us. All the derogatory names that we got, man, they come from them. We don't own no publishing houses. We don't own nothing to make nothing. Now we get in the position to try to do a little something. But in the past, while we was in slavery, we didn't own nothing. We didn't own nothing. And if you own anything, it was taken from you. You see what I'm saying? Well, we know that Sephardi predates Spain, and Ashkenazi predates Germany. And all it is Germany was Scythian Ashkenazi territory at one time. And all it is that the Sepharavims went to Spain back in the days doing trade, because the Babylonians did trade all around the Mesopotamian area. So those was ancient lands, and they can kind of like attach their names to their on the slick side. If they got all the publishing companies and all the books that say this, then eventually everybody gonna have to accept that. If they got all the books that say what they want to say, then the world gonna have to accept what they say, and ain't nobody challenging their history and what's right and what's wrong. But we trying to do that now. But the majority of the Hebrews be using Jewish history, the history that these people created to explain Hebrew Israelite history. All right, Sepharavim is the Hebrew word for Sephardi, Sephardic, and Sephardim. Sephardi gonna be the original like Amorites, the people from Babylon. You know what I'm saying? And they had a little pigmentation. And then you get the Sephardic. The Sephardic gonna be mostly the ones that had mixed with the Europeans, some Ashkenazi. You see what I'm saying? They had mixed with them. And then the Sephardim gonna be the Arabs. You see what I'm saying? They try to camouflage it and say that, they was just hanging around them. No, they're gonna be mixed with the Arabs and the African Sephardim. They gonna have more pigmentation and stuff. And then, them folks constitute the Sepharavims. And the Sepharavims were Babylonian scribes. They were scribes in Babylon, and they was responsible for Babylon history. That's why come a lot of Hebrews be confused when they see history, and then they say that these people were swarthy or had dark skin, then these Hebrews instantly think that they are talking about them and our people, and that we had Hebrews running around Europe and stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's like I'm going into history showing how the Ethiopians had made it with the Khazars, and the Khazars, took some Ethiopians to Europe, and how those people would become the Moors and so forth. They had black Khazars and they had white Khazars, and their descendants would rule in all parts of Europe and stuff. All right, us Hebrews abandoned our heritage to the Babylonian scribes, the Sephardi Jews. The Sephardi Jews, whose name is Sephardim. And Sephardim covers Sephardic, Sephardi, and Sephardim, and they was placed in Samaria in 722 BC. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon. This is 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 24. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cuddle, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. Okay, if you go to 2 Chronicles 30, this is in 715 BC. This is 7 years after those folks was placed. They would come to the Passover dinner, and then this show you also at the same time that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes, because King Hezekiah, this is in 715 BC. This is way before King Josiah was born. King Josiah is King Hezekiah's great-grandfather. King Hezekiah was born before King Josiah and reigned before King Josiah, and he will have all the tribes at home. You see what I'm saying? He will have all the tribes at home. All right, this is in 715 BC. All right. And Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah and wrote letters unto Ephraim and Manasseh that they should come to the house of the Elohim at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel. For the king had taken great counsel and his princes and all the congregation in Jerusalem to keep the Passover in the 2nd month. For they could not keep it at that time, because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently, neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. And this thing pleased the king and all the congregation. So they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel. Now, why would they make a proclamation throughout all Israel if all the people is gone, if 10 tribes gone? You see what I'm saying? So they established a decree and made proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel at Jerusalem, for they had not done it for a long time in such sort as it was written. So the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah, according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Elohim Yah of Abraham and Isaac and Israel, and he will return to the remainder of you that are escaped out of the hands of the king of Assyria. So them Hebrews escaped, the Assyrians. It's right there. How can you miss that? How can you miss that? And this is after the Syrian wars, and this is 715 BC. See what I'm saying? This is 7 years later. And then as you read down, you will see it says, when you get to verse 10. So the post passed from city to city throughout the country of Ephraim, Manasseh, even to Zebulun, but they laughed them to scorn and mocked them. Now these folks laughing and joking after this great tragedy supposed to have taken place, the Syrian captivity. So we know that the Syrian captivity is false, and that them Babylonian scribes created that myth. All right. Nevertheless, the verse of Asher and Manasseh and Zebulun humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem. They didn't come to Jerusalem. All right. And then as you read down, you get to verse 18. For the multitude of the people, even Many of Ephraim and Manasseh, Ishgar and Zebulun had not cleansed themselves, yet did they eat the Passover, otherwise that it was written. But Hezekiah prayed for them. You see what I'm saying? So, we was there. You know what I'm saying? All right, those people that was placed in our land in 715 BC, the Sepharvims, they even came to the Passover dinner too. You see what I'm saying? They even came to the Passover dinner too. So they was doing our heritage. So if we go into Africa to do the Egyptian religion and they don't follow us, then you got some people doing our heritage right there. When did they stop? They didn't stop. You see what I'm saying? They didn't stop. All right. In all the congregation, this is 2 Chronicles chapter 30, verse 25. All right. And all the congregation of Judah with the priests and the Levites and all the congregation that come out of Israel and the strangers that come out of the land of Israel that dwelt in Judah rejoice. So them folks in Judah rejoicing so they can leave Samaria and go to Judah. You see what I'm saying? And that's what they did when we went into the promise. When we left the promised land going into Africa, we left everything to them people, books and everything. And them people would take our heritage and fuse their identity in it. You see, they was already at the Passover dinner. You see, they was already at the Passover dinner under King Hezekiah. And then if you go back to Second Kings 17, verse 32, you'll see, so they feared the Elohim and made unto themselves of the lowest of them priests of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the house of the Elohim. They feared the Elohim and served their own gods after the manner of the nations whom they carried away. So them folks was following our tradition back then when they was placed in 722 BC. And as you get down to 41, it says, for these nations feared the Elohim and served their graven images, both their children and their children's children, as they did and their fathers do unto this day. Sure enough, it's the truth, because they created Babylonian Talmuds and the Kabbalists, all kind of Babylonian traditions mixed into what they call our heritage, and they present that as Judaism. You see what I'm saying? So those people was learning our heritage, and then when we go into Africa in the book of Jeremiah, because like I said, the Egyptians killed King Josiah. This is around about 640 BC. You know what I'm saying? He done cleaned it up, and we coming into heritage. The Egyptians would kill King Josiah, and it's another myth. You see what I'm saying? When they say, well, the Egyptians, the Ethiopians got the Ark of the Covenant and had the Ark of the Covenant since Solomon days. That's a lie. Solomon death in 931 BC and the Ark 940 BC is when they say that the Queen of Sheba visited. Okay, as you read 2 Chronicles chapter 35 and you read on down, you'll see King Josiah had the Ark. You know what I'm saying? And then when you get to the book of Jeremiah, which I'm going to do, it'll show you that the Creator said the Ark wasn't going to even be mentioned no more. And this was before we got chased into Africa, that when we come back, we wasn't going to even need no Ark or be even talking about that, even care nothing about no Ark. You see what I'm saying? All right. This is King Josiah, a king that was from prophecy from 931 BC that was born and that did just what the prophet said he would do, and he had the ark. Moreover, Josiah kept a Passover unto the Elohim in Jerusalem, and they killed the Passover on the 14th day of the month. And he set the priests in their charges and encouraged them in the service of the house of the Elohim, and said unto the Levites that taught all Israel, which were holy unto the Elohim, put the holy ark in the house which Solomon the son of David, king of Israel, did build. It shall not be a burden upon thy shoulders. Serve now the Elohim your Yah and his people. So they trying to make a mockery out of King Josiah, because King Josiah got rid of their evil, wicked religion back in the days, them Amorites. Like I said, the people from Babylon that was placed in our land from Babylon wasn't nothing but slick Amorites, and they was getting their land back on the slick side when we was tricked into Africa to worship the Egyptian religion. You see, so they gonna try to smur King Josiah. And he had the holy ark. He had the ark, and this is in 621 BC, just before the Egyptians killed him. So we know that the Ethiopians didn't have no ark, and how that's a lie that's been created. You know, Judaism gonna come off them Edomites from Yemen and stuff, and I'm gonna explain that too one day. You know, that's like the people who they trying to give our heritage to, the Igabus, the Limbas, the Ethiopian Jews, and them other black folks who they trying to say this Hebrews. That's to keep us from getting control of our heritage if they got them in place already. So we ain't gonna go for that, Hebrews. We ain't gonna go for that. They gonna have to stand down. They gonna have to stand down. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. They gonna have to stand down. They gonna have to stand down. We ain't finna let nobody be pre-positioned to lead us that's been picked by the people who inherited our heritage, who don't want to let it go. We can't let that happen. You see what I'm saying? So if them folks didn't go through the curses, and didn't go through the curses exactly like the Creator said and like Prophet Moses said, then you can't be no Hebrew. Your Hebrew gonna come off the Randonite source, and the Randonite source are those Jewish merchants, them Babylonian Jewish merchants who did trade all around the world, not just around the Mesopotamia area, but around the whole world. You know what I'm saying? I got maps showing their trade routes. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna see if I can pull some of their trade routes up, but they was all everywhere. Here go one showing a little bit, but they was everywhere. All them names that you see right there, those are trade routes. Those are trade routes that them people had, and those are colonies and cities that they set up. The Babylonian scribes called the Randonites, and they did trade everywhere in China. They did trade in China, India, and wherever they did trade, they converted them people. You know, they've been had our heritage since the BC days, and then they would make them people into Jews. And then right now, you know, the ones that got pigmentation, they trying to elevate them and say, these are the Israelites, these are the Hebrews, especially the African branch. You know what I'm saying? They trying to make them into the Israelites, so, and put them in a place of leadership so our heritage can be off. But we can't let that happen. If you didn't get on no ship, with no yoke on your neck, you can't be no Hebrew Israelite. You're going to have to stand down. Now, you can worship the Creator. We can't tell you not to worship the Creator, but we can tell you not to claim our heritage that you don't have no right to because you didn't do no curses. See what I'm saying? So they know that us doing them curses and coming from this suffering, that we're going to be able to see things different from them other people and stuff. So they can't let us come in the covenant how they think, because if we come in the covenant, then we understand some tricks and some things that they do that they'll never be able to do again. So they got to elevate them other people up, and that's what's happening and stuff, you know, and them other people being used and stuff. That's like when we get over in Africa, it ain't gonna go good for them if we can get over there. If we can get over there, it ain't gonna go good for them. I tell you that, especially if we over there in large numbers. It's curtains for them. It's curtains for a whole bunch of people trying to claim our heritage, knowing that you ain't us and you ain't suffered none of the curses. It's like a slap in the face. They trying to cast the Creator word down by not going through the curses or having history linked to that. You see what I'm saying? So them people saying that the Ethiopians got the ark or had the ark is a lie, because King Josiah had it. You see what I'm saying? King Josiah had it. And King Josiah told them to put it away. And it's way after the Queen of Sheba experience with the Hebrew King Solomon. Alright. So, you know, after King Josiah cleaned the land up, you know, his father was told to, you know what I'm saying, his father got the book Halakai, and then they would go to this priestess that was in Jerusalem named Huldah, and the priestess Huldah would say that all the curses would get us, everything that was written in the book, because we had did so much sin. And this is during that time of the prophet Jeremiah. But let me finish showing that it's no 10 lost tribes, and show you the tribes that the Assyrians needed to help them fight, that eventually come home in what is called the satire history of Egypt, because Egypt and Assyria was friends. And matter of fact, Assyria whole everything was owned by the Egyptians, and I'm gonna try to find the verses to show that too. All right, and as you read First Chronicles chapter 5, and then you get down to verse 18, the sons of Reuben and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh, violent men, able to bear buckler and sword and shoot with bow, and skillful in war, were 440,703 score that went out to the war. All right, and then when you get down to 26, and the king and the Yah of Israel stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Talcopanazer, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh, and brought them to Halah and Habor and Har, and to the river Gozan. Okay, the prophet Ezekiel and them was taken to that same river and stuff, but them Hebrews would come home in what's called the satire history of Egypt. You know, it's a known fact that the Egyptians had a strong affinity with with Nineveh, Assyria. All right, if you go to Job 2 verse 20, you will see that the northern army was prophesied to get taken away, and then that happened. All right, that's fine, Job. So you know, it's a lot of history going on, in the history that the people, them Jewish people and the other folks wrote, is basically to hide our heritage and to not show that we are the Hebrews. So you know, you got to learn history over, and we got to rewrite our history. We have to rewrite our history to establish what is Hebrew Israelite history, and the Israelite Brotherhood leading the way. You Hebrews gonna have to have trusted sources of information, because if you don't, then you're gonna be, you know, fooling with them groups, what we call the camps, that's passing Jewish history, and you ain't gonna never know your history. You ain't gonna never know your history. So we want the Israelite Brotherhood to be a trusted source of information. All right, if you go to Job 2 verse 20, Job 2 verse 20, and it says, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his faces toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the other sea. And his stink shall come up, and he shall ill flavor shall come up, because he hath done great things. All right, those Hebrews that the Assyrians took, the northern kingdom army, they would come home in what's called the satire history of Egypt. See, it's a known fact that the Egyptians kicked it with, you know, Nineveh. But like I said, the Egyptians kicked it in Assyria, and they didn't want us to have the promised land as a covenant land, because they had to come across it. And if we had that new culture that forbid them trespassing on covenant land, then it was over for the Egyptian society and empire. So we was slick finna kill the Egyptians. We was finna kill the Egyptians with the new culture that we had. So that's why they put that religion on us. But if you look at Num chapter 3 verse 8, you'll see, art thou better than populous No? This is talking about Assyria, that was situated among the rivers, that had the waters round about it. The rampart was to the sea, and her walls was from the sea. Ethiopia and Egypt were her strength, and it was infinite. They was her strength, her army. You see what I'm saying? And Put and Libyan were thy helpers. You know what I'm saying? The people from Libya and in the Sahara, from the west side of the Nile, the people who Joseph's sons were born by, they relatives were Assyria's strength. You see what I'm saying? And they took those three tribes there to help them during the time that Assyria was getting destroyed by them people who tricked Assyria. Man, I got a video with Tuda and Ashkenazi was in Assyria. You know what I'm saying? I got a video, you know what I'm saying, about them. You see, because about this time, you see what I'm saying, about this time. All right. Tuda Ashkenazi. You know what I'm saying? That's like that King Midas. The reason King Midas had the golden touch is because he did so much treachery and that he double cross, triple cross all the nations and then had them all go destroy Assyria. So that's why he had the golden touch, because, you know, his daddy was kicking it in Assyria. That's going to be about the time that Prophet Jonah and them come around and then left. You know what I'm saying? After that, them folks was kicking it there in Assyria. Ashkenazi was, you know what I'm saying, under the name Ashkuz. You know what I'm saying? They was the Scythians. And then they would get together. They would help Assyria destroy Media. You know what I'm saying? And then that's that time when Prophet Jonah, you know what I'm saying, had just left there. And they would go take off with them beasts and go destroy Media, them other mixed folks, and try to take their stuff. And then what King Midas did was said he was going to destroy Media, and then he went down there and got Chaldea, Media, and all them together, and then he went and destroyed Assyria. You know what I'm saying? And he was part of it. They try to keep his name out of history. He the one that went and got the groups together to go destroy Assyria. So King Midas had the golden touch for them because it was through the Assyrians' destruction that allowed them to move on us and do what they had to do, because it wasn't nobody in the way to help us, you know, because if the Babylonians would have came and started attacking us, them Scythians, to try to drive us off the land back then them folks would have came and helped us. You see what I'm saying? So Egypt and Ethiopia and Cush were Assyria's strength. You know what I'm saying? And the prophet Habakkuk tell you about the Scythians coming to destroy everybody. You see what I'm saying? And that's Ashkenazi. You know, giving them the green light to come on in and do what they got to do. You know, the prophet Jeremiah gave them the green light to come on in and do what they got to do, because we was on that Egyptian religion and we wouldn't come up off of it, and we couldn't do Egyptian religion on the promised land. So Assyria, even prophet Isaiah prophesies about Assyria and us teaming up in our last days. You know, that's going to be Isaiah 20. Isaiah 20. Alright, I'm about to sum this up before long, but it's a little more history I got to show you about the prophet Jeremiah. Alright. So it's another thing when they be coming with that 10 lost tribe myth. You know, it's a known fact that the Assyrians took some Ethiopians and some Egyptians prisoners. You know what I'm saying? Trying to take them to Assyria and make them get down and fight too. Because everybody's trying to get away from them white folks, them Scythians that was coming up out the mountain. And if you read the book of Jeremiah, he'll tell you how Egypt was over in the Euphrates and how they took off running and how it wasn't a man left and how they broke their neck trying to get back into Africa to get away from them Scythians with them crossbows. You know, them white folks had come with the crossbows and the horses and crossbows. It was over with for us. You know, when the Creator called them folks to come in and get us, it was over with. It was over with. It was over with. We couldn't share heritage with them. It's impossible. If you read Scythian history, them bloody, thirsty barbarians that love war, like what's going on now. We couldn't deal with them folks. So, the Creator sent for them. All right. And the prophet Isaiah, this is going to be chapter 19. And it says, in that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrians shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptians into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. And in that day Israel shall be a third with Egypt and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land. And whom the Elohim of hosts shall bless, saying, blessed be Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hand, and Israel, mine inheritance. Okay, those Hebrews would come home in what's called the satire history of Egypt. That's documented history that the Egyptians, did them three tribes come home. And they were all going to Africa with us. We were all going to Africa in the book of Jeremiah. Trying to get away from them Scythians who the Creator had sent to chase us up off the promised land. For saying that we was going to do Egyptian religion. So, if you go to chapter 44, let's get to that. All right. First, let's establish the fact that everybody went into Africa. And I'm going to show you some verses that the prophet even said before it even come to pass that we was all going to be driven up off the land, and how the promised land was going to be empty. Empty. He kept saying it's going to be empty. That the promised land going to be empty. And we didn't believe the prophet Jeremiah. We tried to rough him up. We threatened to kill him. Because we didn't want to be told that somebody finna come drive us up off the promised land. And the book of Jeremiah go into detail about it. All right. This is 2 Kings 25:26. This showing how all the people went into Africa being tricked out of the promised land by the Egyptians too. And how our sin was so bad that it was like worse than Sodom and Gomorrah, where it wasn't no righteous people and we had to get up off the land. And all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Chaldea. It came to Egypt, for they was afraid of the Chaldeans. All right, Chaldea. Well, I was thinking about Chaldea. Chaldea, the Scythians, Ashkenazi, got in Chaldea and what's called the Turanian Scythian Chaldean culture. You know what I'm saying? They kicked it in Sumerian culture till it was destroyed. And in the Akkadian culture too. But Ashkenazi got in Chaldea through what's called the Turanians. The Scythians. And they controlled Chaldea. I got a whole bunch of history, man, about that on Facebook. Alright, so we know that Ashkenazi was the Scythians. And the Scythians were the people that were sent in to chase us off the promised land. In the book of Habakkuk cover it just before it happens. 625 BC. He telling us what's finna go down. And then the prophet Jeremiah told us what's finna go down. Alright, so we know that we was chased into Africa. That's the last part. Now let's show the part when it first happened. The Egyptians had killed King Josiah for cleaning the promised land up. They done killed him. And then they placed his son on the throne. And they placed some sons on the throne this week. Then the Babylonians come in and try to place their son, one of his sons on the throne. So they was trying to make sure that we didn't get back on the covenant and that we was through. Alright. The word of Jeremiah, the son of Halakah, that's going to be that priest that found the book that went to the prophetess to ask her what would happen to us after finding the Torah and realizing that we had been breaking the covenant all that time. Let me read that so you'll know that that's going to be 2 Chronicles 34. Yeah, let's get that in. Alright. So we know that King Josiah and cleaned up the whole land. I'm going to pick up, man, I showed where all the tribes were still there and how he cleaned the cities up. This is 2 Chronicles 34. And as you read down, you'll see that the tribes there and how he, did exactly what that prophecy calls for him to do in coming from Jeroboam days in First Kings chapter 13, verse 1, 2, and 3. All right, and when he break down the altars and the groves and beaten the graven images into powder and cut down all the idols throughout all the land of Israel, he returned to Jerusalem. That's what King Josiah did. Now, in the 18th year of his reign, when he had purged the land and the house, he sent Shaphan the son of Azalea the Misha, the governor of the city, and Joah the son of Joahaz the recorder to repair the house. All right, they repaired the house, and they had got some money from the people, and the people contribute, and they had started to do repairs, and the people was trusted who was doing it, and there wasn't no problems doing it. And then as you read down, you know what I'm saying, you'll get to verse 34:15. And Hezekiah answered and said to Shaphan the scribe, I found the book of the law in the house of the Elohim. And Hezekiah delivered the book to Shaphan, and Shaphan carried the book to the king, and brought the king word back again, saying, all that was committed to thy servants, they did it, and they have gathered themselves the money that was found in the house of the Elohim, and have delivered it into the hands of the overseers, into the workers' hands. Those are the people that's doing the work on the temple. Then Shaphan the scribe told the king, saying, Hezekiah the priest had given me a book, and Shaphan read it before the king. And it come to pass, when the king had heard the words of the law, that he rent his clothes. And the king commanded Hezekiah and Hiakim the son of Shaphan, and Abidan the son of Micah, and Shaphan the scribe, and Asaiah a servant of the king, saying, Go inquire of the Elohim for me, for them that are left in Israel, in Judah, concerning the words of the book that is found. For great is the wrath of the Elohim that is poured out upon us, because our fathers have not kept the word of the Elohim to do all that is written in the book. And Hezekiah and they that the king had appointed went to Huldah the prophetess, the wife of Shallum, the son of Tikvath, the son of Hirsch, keeper of the wardrobe. Now she dwelt in Jerusalem in the college, and they spake to her to that effect. And she answered them, Thus said the Elohim Yah of Israel, tell the man that sent you to me, thus said the Elohim, Behold, I will bring evil upon this place, and upon the inhabitants thereof, even all the curses that are written in the book, which they have read before the king of Judah, because they have forsaken me, and have burned incense unto other gods, that they might provoke me unto anger with the works of their hands. Therefore my wrath shall be poured out upon this place, and shall not be quenched. And sure enough, that come to pass. That came to pass because we was chased out the land, and the book of Jeremiah covered. That's why I say it's important to understand the book of Jeremiah, because if you understand the book of Jeremiah, even if you don't understand the books, just know that the prophet Jeremiah was the last prophet for the 99% that ran into Africa to worship the Egyptian religion. That's how you know we the Hebrews. And nobody in history want to talk about this. Don't nobody want to discuss what happened to the Queen of Heaven worshipers that went in Africa